experiences in the past, maybe some stories I've heard, and also around a woodwick candle for a scary time. And we have a special guest for part of the video. We wanted to bring her up here. Come here. Come here. Keep it purring and making so much noise. Come on, let go. So I figured we show Dolce in this video. She's not a black cat, but she'll prefer to that haunting sound for you, lovely purring. I'm not sure, is that relaxing or is that haunting for you? I'm enjoying the candlelight for this video. They say that black cats can give you bad luck if they cross your path, but honestly, I think the cat's just going somewhere and they're not bad luck. I grew up with a lot of black cats outside of our home. At one point, I think we had up to 30 cats outside. They were not spayed or neutered or anything like that, but we lived out in the country and took care of them and made sure that they were good. But this is Dolce. And Dolce was adopted when she was 2. I don't know her exact date of birth, but she'll be 13 sometime this year, early next year. Coconut, the other cat, he's away right now, probably laying down, but Dolce has to be by my feet, so she wants to be at my feet while I'm at the computer desk. And I figured I'd bring her up for a purring sound for you. I'll definitely feature the cats in another licking, eating video too soon. And right now, Dolce's giving you good purr sounds, which should be relaxing. She's got the white underside. She's a brown tabby. She's probably like, why are you moving me back and forth? For the sounds, my dear. For the sounds. So, I don't know a lot of scary stories to tell you. I didn't want to read from a script or anything. I just wanted to make this kind of random. So, I remember as a kid, a crime that was in the papers. I lived about an hour away from Sioux Falls, South Dakota at the time, and the big story was the Canistota woman. I don't think they ever solved the murder. She went missing. I think she might have had an affair or love interest with a guy who was supposedly a suspect. But what made this terrifying was the fact that he worked at John Burrell, which is a meat packing plant, and was rumored that he killed her, and to dispose of the body, he tried to hide it in the most gruesome way possible. And I don't know much about the meat packing plant, but it is very efficient on how the animal is processed. Essentially, it was rumored that this man had brought her in a tarp to the John Morrell plant. I don't know how he'd get her by. I believe I said a tarp. And put her through the processing of basically getting rid of the body of the animal or the part that you wouldn't use. So they would use an acid that would basically eat away the flesh from the bone completely. And of course, that is not everything, because you'd be left with the skeleton. And in the process of these meat packing plants, they actually crush the bone and dissolve it, or not dissolve it, but basically disintegrate it into very fine particles. So it was rumored that she was sent through the process because apparently that human bones are much heavier than cow or pig bones, and it was rumored that there was a heavier sound after him bringing something with a tarp. And again, this could be stories that people made up, but sent her through the process with acid to get rid of the skin, and then the crushing of the bones. And essentially, those bones leave back very fine dust, or a bone, which of course is something you could put in cow or pig feed to refeed animals. At least that's what the rumor was. I'm not sure if an actual meat packing plant does that process, because I would think that eating cows would lead to mad cow disease. And I forget the names of the victim and the suspect, but I don't think there was anything ever that came of it. Nobody was committed or found to be the actual murderer. So it was almost the perfect crime where they couldn't find the body. But he had connections to her that, these stories came about. And being in elementary or middle school at the time, it was very scary, and I don't know, it's frightening that to be put, the idea of being put through that process. And it makes, gun crime seem very tame, and it makes you wonder if she was strangled or stabbed. It was also rumored that she was chopped up and put in a field scattered across, because the countryside outside of Sioux Falls, hiding it away from being able to be seen. Of course, combines going through the field, and nobody was ever found. Her body was never found that I know of or remember. And I could be wrong, but that is my real life unsolved mystery, scary story for you. And when I think about it, it gives me the chills that nothing has ever been found. So, on another note, I now remember a story. I want to say it was another murder, and this happened up in South Dakota again, and on the Nebraska border by Yankton, South Dakota. Utica, South Dakota, which is this very small town. And along the way, she was abducted. And her car was found later on, they call them Indian reservations, but it would be the Native American reservations on the Nebraska side, with her body completely stabbed and set on fire. There was a guy that was walking through the reservation, knocking on people's doors with blood on his clothing, and I believe he was convicted of murder. And the sad thing is, that was, Yankton's only 13,000 some people, and Utica is maybe 100 or so, and my mom works for Walmart that she was going to, and she didn't fit the description of a normal sexual predator, of being a 55-year-old. So you just really don't know how safe you could be if she was abducted in the middle of the highway. I believe they thought there was 2 other people involved that probably sexually abused her and then stabbed her to death and set her body on fire in a different location to try to hide the evidence. There was actually another couple murders not long after that in Yankton area as well, and I don't know much about the other 2, except that maybe it just seemed a little too coincidental that maybe they were connected in some way, shape, or form. And it's very weird, hearing about that, about a small town or small city that you grew up by. You wouldn't expect a lot of crime in that area because, of course, it is presumably that in a larger metropolitan area that I live in now, that you would have a lot more crime, murder. A lot of the crime in where I live is gang related on, a different part of town. But that doesn't mean you're safe anywhere you go. It just truly reminds you not to take anything for granted, and that the world is a dangerous place. And these are not just scary stories. These are real life crimes that have happened. I don't have the names of any of the victims. And my mom was terrified, knowing that her friend in college, was, barely any younger than she is. And my mom works late at Walmart as a second job. And so I'm pretty sure they do this to this day, is when they have that late night shift. You get off at 11 p.m. They would walk out together. Now, she got a flashlight that's also a bat, in case anybody attacks. But really, I'm kind of quoting a movie or show, and it's basically, if anybody wants to get you, they can get you. Either it's premeditated or random. It's scary when you think about it. And this reminds me of being a child and talking with my cousins, usually in the dark. We tell about stories or other conspiracy or things we've heard, and I kind of feel like this is a flashback to that. Talking to you in front of a woodwick candle in the dark. I know that a week after I left a neighborhood in the city I am in now, a man shot and killed his wife and children. I want to say it was 2 or 3 children. And then shot himself. And it was literally a house within, I don't know, 5 or less blocks from where I lived. And it's a serious thing. It's just too easy to get a gun. And you never know. There are certain times that you could be walking out in the city where you just don't feel comfortable, you know, and I kind of feel more uncomfortable now in the country that a lot of that stuff has happened back in Yankton, which, you know, I don't live by anymore, but it makes me more terrified to visit there than it does where I'm at now in a city of almost 1 million people. So it just, I kind of feel like maybe it's good to be around crowds that, you know, would maybe notice something is wrong, or you could scream. And it's absolutely terrifying. I'm not even sure if they really figured out the other 2 murders that happened after my mother's friends. And it makes you wonder if, you know, they actually caught the right person that did the murders, because obviously those 2 came after, and maybe they weren't connected. Maybe they were a copycat, you know. And it creeps me out being in the dark right now in my own apartment. Probably helps to have Dolce on my lap, and she's still purring. By the way, this is my phone wand. So I'll tell you the phone that I have, and Dolce's getting caught in my headphones. You gotta move your tail. Move your tail. There you go. Move your tail. Move. Yep. You're not as huggy as Coconut is, because if you were to do this, Coconut would put one arm around your neck and the other one around your neck as well, on the opposite side. It is superstition that cats, I'm sure dogs are as well, but I'm pretty sure cats was the main focus, is that whenever a cat is around you, a cat protects you from evil spirits. It keeps, you know, poltergeists or ghosts away from you that want to do you harm. They are the little protectors. Spirits do not like the little kitty. I mean, when you think about it, cats are predators. They are just so small, they wouldn't be able to, you know, do too much harm to you. But their bite definitely hurts. So, I mean, it's nice to have 2 cats. That living alone can be scary, and so I recommend having a pet. You know, dogs are more vocal than cats, but cats show love as well. So I would say before we had house cats when I was younger. My mom mentioned that when she was falling, or when she was asleep, she heard children laughing, and that she felt something tickle her feet. And that was a time before we had house cats, and our home was built previously by a guy who built it himself. It wasn't built by any contracting company or anything like that, but it was built out in the country. And I'm not sure if he died in the house, but I think there might have been some kind of haunting or spirit that was around, because it was also before, we got inside cats, because we always had them outside, that I had went down to view the Christmas tree, the excitement when you believed in Santa Claus, and it was after the presents were wrapped. In our house, we had built onto it, and the stairs to the basement, it was a split level. It had wood on, they were just left wood. They weren't put any carpet on them, so when you stepped on the steps, you could hear the noise. And I was sitting on the couch, and I looked over at the steps, because all of a sudden you could hear somebody walking on the steps to the basement or from the basement. But when you looked over there, you couldn't see anything. And it was terrifying, because it sounded like somebody walking on those exact steps. There were no other steps that had the wood exposed like that. And you couldn't see anything. And I need you to stay here, Dolce, because I'm scaring myself remembering, what happened. And you couldn't see anything. In that house, I had some of the worst nightmares as a child. I remember my mom telling me that sometimes I'd sleepwalk there and let in some cats from the outside. Used to have nightmares about things, I probably worry a lot, and nightmares about dinosaurs, about the coyotes that were in the country. You could always hear them in the distance howling. And there was, when you have a dream and you get to the point where you're trying to run from something, right, in the dream, but all of a sudden you can no longer run. It's like you're pausing. I had one of those dreams when a kid, and it was terrifying, because you wanted to wake up, you wanted to run away from it, and I believe it was either a mountain lion, a tiger, or lion of some sort that I was running from. And it was literally our house in the dream. And I don't think I have many nightmares anymore. Usually my nightmares that I have now, if I have any dreams, are to do with me, for some reason, forgetting a class in college. And I have a final project to do, and totally miss the class the whole semester. And it's funny that I still have these dreams, because I haven't been in college for the past 4 or 5 years. And to this day, I still get those dreams where it feels like I missed something. And it's weird, because dreams can either tell you something about your life, or they can tell you about what will be of your life. I don't know, it's interesting, because I can't say that I believe, completely in superstition. But Dolce doesn't like being up here very long. She's not like Coconut, where she's always going to be up here. But essentially, there are some dreams where you can have them and they emulate real things. So, they kind of act like a premonition of what's to come. So I've had dreams before where it was just any day life, and you didn't think anything of it, but it wasn't something that happened yet, right? And then you later are living your life, you're fully awake, and it just so happens it feels like a deja vu moment, where you swear that this happened before. I don't know if anybody believes in zodiac symbols, but I am a Taurus, and a Taurus is very down to earth, but stubborn, because we believe in something and we will not change our mind unless somebody can convince us otherwise. But essentially, a Taurus does not forget anything about your life. We will remember the little things and never forget. So it's just interesting, when you channel that part of your mind and think about it. It makes you wonder if, dreams have those powers of either another universe or something that has happened or will happen. So it's kind of one of those things that you hope, if you have a bad dream that seems so realistic that it could happen, it's about a real thing, tangible, like family or friends, that doesn't happen, because it's terrifying. I've had dreams about spiders. I'm scared of spiders, but at the same time I understand their need, their necessity for controlling pests and bugs, but they're still terrifying. And I think it was in the past 6 months that I was asleep and dreamt about a large spider, and just thinking about it before going to bed, I can't fall asleep. The idea of one crawling on you or by you or could bite you, which I know is pretty rare. I called for my cat because the cat was not on my bed. Neither one were on my bed. And I could not fall asleep until that happened. And I always felt safer with the lights on, for some reason. I remember, if I go back in time, as a kid, I actually slept with the blanket over my head. I slept with the blanket over my head. And now I'd believe, I'd be like, it felt like I was suffocating. But, that superstition that you're safer under the covers, I don't even know. It's weird. I feel like blankets are a safety for me. When I was a kid, our great-grandmother made us what's called an Afghan. And, I would take that thing. It's a blanket. I would take this Afghan blanket with me everywhere I went. It didn't matter if I was hot, cold. I took that blanket everywhere. And to this day, I still love blankets. So if I'm at work, if I'm laying on a chair or a couch, I can be warm. I feel more secure or comforted for myself to sit there if I have a blanket on, which is so weird. I don't know if that's a learned habit from childhood or not. And I know I completely went on a tangent in this video. It was supposed to be a campfire story time, scary stories. And I've heard all these scary story videos, ASMR videos, Tyson because right now in only candlelight, I'm getting chills, and not the ASMR tingly chills. I'm getting chills because I'm terrified. I'm in the dark. I'm talking about it. I believe that, if you believe in bad things happening, you can wish them into fruition. It just brings bad vibes. The movie that scares me the most as a child, which is interesting because, we got to watch Terminator 2 when I was in kindergarten, but that was definitely not a movie to watch in kindergarten, but that's not the movie that was the most scary to me. And, but essentially, I'll name it down in the comments below because I'm so terrified of it to this day. It's funny, I can watch the movie now. It's still scary. But I had to sleep with blankets around my bed, and I had to sleep in my parents' bedroom for at least 6 months because my cousins had made me watch this movie. And it's more suspenseful, but it was terrifying. So I'll leave you with that. I'll leave it in the comments below what the hell I'm talking about. And I'll let you know of anything else in a future video. If you love this video and you want to hear some more, I possibly have some other stories I could talk about.